Hi guys.
Hi everyone, very good evening.
Hello everyone, good evening all of you.
So we are meeting today here for discussing obviously the recent exam rescheduling or postponement, as they say, that has been announced, and that has obviously created a little bit of a panic amongst the students. So our primary purpose of meeting all of you today is just to settle that out first. And also I think it's before we begin, it's my extreme honor and privilege that I'm getting to share the screen with, as all of you rightly say, the god of medicine, that is Deepak Marwah sir. And along with that, also, it's my honor that I'm sharing the screen with Yusuf sir as well. It's my first time that I'm having an online session with both of you. So I'm looking forward, personally, apart from the students, I'm also looking forward to a good discussion with the students and learning a lot from the both of you as well. So yes, we'll also be taking up a lot of questions in between as along we get going with the session. But I guess I think the first thing that I wish to discuss, or all of us wish to discuss with you, is that whether this was a good decision or a bad. And a lot of students have been writing to each one of us individually whether this was a good or a bad decision. Can we have the first slide, please? So, personally, if you ask all of us, this has given you a lot of time going forward to actually, think over all those subjects and things which you were probably missing out on. Now, honestly, many of you are coming up with all the negative thoughts that just because the exam has been postponed or rescheduled, it will come across as a difficult paper or something that's going to be a little high edge. But no, honestly saying, that is not the reason for which the exam has been postponed. I mean, no one out here is obviously willing to torture you to any extent. So that is not the reason behind it. But yes, now that God and NB both have given you that amount of time or 65 extra days to, get going with it, then obviously make use of it. Now, if you waste this additional time and just pondering over why has this happened and why did this happen or blaming someone or the other, you're just wasting time. So honestly speaking, this is something that has obviously happened for the good, and take it in the good stride. Use this time for all your time management and all your building up on your flaws. Whatever mistakes you had been doing till now, it's time to rectify those mistakes, provided you utilize this time religiously. So just before we begin, sir, a take off this particular postponement from you also, because I guess the students really wish to hear from you on this as well.
My take would be to be positive about it. As they say in cricket, take it on the chin. So you have to be aggressive, and I think it's always an advantage that you are having extra number of days to prepare those topics which you were weak in or you were planning to leave. Because I'm very sure nobody can complete all 19 and can complete all the subtopics as well. I mean, when you get only one day to complete a subject, a big one especially like medicine or surgery, then I think that there's a possibility that you might be leaving behind some subtopics. And this was what was happening when the exam was scheduled for the 4th of December. But then because of this postponement, you get extra time and you can use it judiciously. You can use it in a positive sense, and you can make those weak, that inherent in your mind. There's always that fear that, okay, I'm not good in this particular subject, or like sometimes it happens how much you study a particular subject, questions of that subject or subtopics always go wrong. So we all doctors have some strengths and some weaknesses, and I think it's an opportunity for you guys to work on those weaknesses in these particular number of days. And if you can complete the entire circle of all the 19 subjects, you would be getting a bird's eye view, as I always say, and that would help you go in for the exam with a much more positive mindset.
Right, as correctly said, Yusuf sir, anything that you wish to address the students for
Ma'am,
this?
actually, it is never a disadvantage if there is going to be a delay in the examination, because if we categorize the students who are preparing for the examination into two, then one set who is already prepared for examination at any point of given time are already prepared for that. So if there is a delay, then there is absolutely no problem for them. Another set who are still waiting, or if they are waiting to get confident in order to appear for the upcoming examination, they are getting the advantage of this extra time and they should utilize it up to the maximum extent. I mean, this is my take, which I think probably that because it will help you out in completing the entire subject, as Marwah sir very rightly said.
Right. So overall, the general view is that certainly it's happened, or at least we can take the good out of it, if nothing else, and that is exactly what we need to do going forward. So now, what subjects should the students be focusing on? As a personal opinion, what I would definitely advise to the students is, see, you all know there's paper one and paper two, and most of us obviously do have a lot of chunk to cover from medicine, surgery, obstetrics, and pediatrics. Those are our four main clinical subjects. But somewhere, and even our seniors would tell you if you ask them, that students who not paid attention to the subjects of paper one, the pre and the paraclinical subjects, which carry a lot of weightage, one entire exam is dedicated to them. So certainly they also happen to be a volatile topics, right? So if you talk about, say, a biochemistry or microbiology or pharmacology, these are the things which somewhere everyone is weak at, not because you're lagging behind in any concepts, but because they are very, very volatile. They are the ones which require a lot of revision. So now probably, you have gotten that time that you can actually revise on those. You can have dedicated days and you can do multiple revisions of, say, the biochemistry cycles, the microbiology, culture media, the pharmacology, drugs, and all those things whichever you were feeling till now that somewhere I've not been able to revise, or you were blaming the time frame for it or the shortage of time for it. So now that blame game goes away, right? Because you have got that time. So subjects that you focus on more than subjects, I would say, now is the time to focus on all the volatile kind of topics that you have. So my personal suggestion to all the students would be pre and paraclinical subjects are a must. And going forward, you know that the trend of the exam with every session is going towards two things. Number one, images, IBQs, and second is integration. So integration ke liye the best thing is always and always going to be medicine. I mean, this is also another mistake a lot of students do, because obviously I am no one to talk about medicine with Marwah sir sitting in the class, but definitely it is a bulky subject. So students are only scared of that subject because of the bulk. So you always have the RR with you, which is not only going to help you finish the subject, but is also going to integrate that with a lot of other pre and paraclinical subjects. And secondly, you have to focus on the IBQs. Image based questions are going much, much higher with every exam. 70 to 80 questions per exam per session of IBQs are coming. So all the IBQs, especially, there are some subjects which are very image heavy, like you pick up a pathology or orthopedics, or you pick up radiology. These are the subjects where images will always be on the higher side. So you know these subjects, Abbas, you've got the time that you have to focus more on these. Sir, any particular subjects that you wish to tell the students that should be on the top of their list at this point of time?
Yeah, we have a revision list and a revision timetable created. So I think in that we'll be able to explain that aspect of which are the subjects which are to be read daily. But yes, I would like to say that whichever you are morbidly afraid of, the ones which you are, I would say, weak in, they are the ones which are to be given focus. And somebody had asked about this. Dr. Vishnu Vardhan had put up this comment about these topics. So, sir, if you just scroll through FMG Solutions book, I mean, if you go into anatomy, physiology, or all the other subjects, there are some subtopics which are given for every particular subject, on basis of which, or on those subtopics, MCQs are given. So when you will start going through that subtopics per se, that is the entire 200 list that I'm talking about. So it's very simple, straightforward, standard books only. And somebody also commented standard books. तो ऑब्वियसली मेडिसिन में हम कुछ अलग से तो बनाएंगे नहीं ना, मतलब वी हैव टू रीड टेक्स्ट बुक ओनली. तो मतलब खुद से क्रिएट नहीं करा हमने, हम तो बोलते हैं कि हम स्टैंडर्ड टेक्स्ट बुक्स को सिंप्लीफाई कर रहे हैं. तो आप भी स्टैंडर्ड टेक्स्ट बुक्स पढ़िए, बट उसमें टाइम ज़्यादा लग जाता है. सो इफ़ यू वांट टू गेन मोर इन लेसर नंबर ऑफ टाइम, देन मोस्ट वेलकम टू लिसन टू अस. अदरवाइज एनीवे द बुक्स आर द फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस. And as a doctor, it's my ethical and moral responsibility to tell you guys that books are obviously the first thing to be done on a primary basis. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. So I think we can take up the next slide, and again, Sir Yusuf, sir, if you want to take that up, subject-wise topics which cannot be missed at this point of time. Any advice that you have for the students on this?
Ma'am, as far as these terminal core clinical subjects are concerned, the topics which are very easier to be identified, that the higher are the chances that it is going to be penetrating the examinations, are the things which we learn in the emergency or which we have already seen during the clinics. Now, for those who have not attended it in the form of their practice sessions, then it is the repeat in particular which is very important. But those who have attended the emergencies or the wards or the OPDs, now whatever they have seen, it is getting more and more integrated in the examinations. So hopefully it might help as far as this and this means terminal subjects, the final year subjects are concerned.
Right. So rightly said. I think we'll take up the next question, and these are basically questions we've got from the students. So another very frequently asked question is, what there are so many sources now. There's an ocean of sources that the online platform has for all of us. So what should we be going through? Whether they should be videos, QBank, or notes. And honestly, notes will always be your primary source. I mean, that is where you started your preparation from. So notes is something you will never ignore. I do understand that after a point of time you feel that every time, ma'am, I cannot read the same 50 to 60 hours of pathology over and over again, or the same 100 hours of say surgery again and again. So after a time you'll start feeling that notes are bulky. So when is that is exactly when the RR videos come for your help, right? Because they are going to concise a lot of things. They are going to reduce the subject to half of the original, what the original video recording was. So definitely RR notes is something you can never ever escape from. And QBank, when we come to QBank, see, there's always a way of approaching the question bank. Your primary focus, be it the topics, be it the QBank, will always be on PYQs. So now when I say PYQs, it is not that the examiner is going to give you same question har baar aise copy paste karke repeat aayega. That is not going to happen, right? Very rarely will that happen, that the same question as it is and same language and same options are gaya. When we say PYQs, we always mean that you guys have to go in for previous year topics, which means that if a question on a particular topic has come twice or thrice, you know that ab notes mein se wahi revise karna hai. You have to revise that over and over and over again. So definitely your RR videos, and in your QBank, your PYQs become your first priority. Now once you finish that chunk of it, then if you want to go through the rest of your notes, rest of the questions, that is how much of time and energy you wish to invest in it. That is a personal choice. But jo definitive hota hai that you have to do, you cannot escape that. That will definitely be your rapid review along with the PYQs that we have. Anything, sir, that you wish to add for the students on that?
Yeah, there were queries with respect to live sessions on my channel. Yeah, I mean, they're already there. There is so much of data already for the live sessions that I have conducted. So I think you can go through that. I think there would be a lot of information overload coming up from there. So I would like to keep it simple and straightforward. I mean, just try to first finish your, repeat of all your videos or notes or whatever is your source of study, and then do about 100 to 150 MCQs a day. It's obviously going to be difficult. It's very easy to say 100 every day, but most people are able to do maybe 12 to 15 in an hour. So that means to do 100, you need 6 hours of MCQ time. And if you are studying for, let me say, effective 12 hours per day, you would get only 6 hours for theory. So you need to balance this out. And because most people are not able to do that, I mean, it's very easy to comment in the chat box about various things and various sources. But then what we have for you is a solution, which is that there is a timetable that we're going to share with you very soon. And in that, we're going to explain that what should be the ideal approach. We are taking it from a student's perspective and explaining to you regarding what should you be doing. That is breaking up your entire task into small subtopics and breaking up your entire day into small, I would say, small segments of few hours, where for every particular subject, we have allocated a particular number of hours. So I think as we move on in our slides, and I would also request you to take a picture of it subsequently so that can help you in strategizing relatively better.
Right. So as sir said, the need of the hour at this point of time is definitely a timetable. And a lot of students had written to us because now with the exam postponement, what exactly should the timetable look like? So we've got a tentative timetable. Now, like I say, I've tried to make this keeping the first revision in mind. So for the first revision, I've kept 35 days for you. This timetable is open for customization. Why do I say that? Pehle to understand what exactly in this timetable do we have. I've divided your entire day into 3 time slots. The first early morning, I've kept it, as they say, to medicine, because you have to start your day with medicine. Now, most of the students wrote to me that medicine being bulky, you cannot finish it by sitting 5-6 days at a stretch. Sometimes you're not able to give in that much of energy into it. So I've divided that into, I think, doing 1.5 hour day of medicine every morning. And obviously starting your day with Marwah sir's classes also gives a very good boost to your day. It's like a good luck charm that you're starting with. So morning every day at 1.5 hour morning, you're starting with medicine, right? After that, and I've tried to give you adequate breaks. Okay, you should not feel that you're just making us study all day long. So I've tried to give you 1 hour time slot breaks also in between. So after you're done with your morning slot of medicine, you have a 1 hour break, and then you have a 3.5 hour stretch of a big subject. When I say big subject, something like, say, let's pick up the first one, anatomy. So for the first 4 days, your timetable is going to be reading medicine in the morning for 1.5 hour, then doing a big subject like anatomy through the day. And in the evening, obviously by 6 o'clock, when you're very tired, you can switch over to a shorter subject. That shorter subject on different days, I've given you different subject. It could be a radiology, a dermatology, anesthesia, forensic, orthopedics. So I've already put up the evening time for the short subjects. The midday or the main bulk of your day has been put for main subjects, and the early morning time slot has been put up for medicine. Now there are some days where I have not given you a short subject. Like look at biochemistry, look at pharmacology. I've given you pure 3 days for that, because I understand that biochem and pharmac are very volatile. You'll need repeated revisions for pharmacology, repeated revisions for biochemistry. So doing that with another subject becomes very difficult. So please remember, this is the timetable that I want you to follow. I've divided adequate days. If you see, 4 or 5 days for every pre and paraclinical subject is there, and similarly 4 or 5 days for big subjects like OBGY, for surgery is what I've given. The shorter subjects like psychiatry and forensic, we've given it in one day. That day, if you don't want to do your morning medicine, that is fine, because finishing half day psychiatry, half day forensic is going to take up major chunk of your day. So this timetable is only to get all of you back on track, considering that now with the postponement, obviously the speed at which you were studying, wo ekdam se ruk gaya hoga. You must have realized if you were studying 10 hours, or all of a sudden you must have come down to say 3 hours or 4 hours or probably none, because that's just human nature, guys. Exam being postponed, and if your mind is knowing that you have more time in hand, that automatically means that your output is going to get lower, and that is exactly what has happened to most of the students who have written to us. So just a piece of advice that we have: try to follow this timetable starting tomorrow. And just one more thing, now see, this is the timetable I have made. I really don't know what are your weak subjects. You are the best judge of that, right? So now if you know that your pharmacology is weaker or your biochemistry is a weaker subject, तो पहले वहां से start करो. Stop procrastinating, stop delaying things for the end moment कि biochem अच्छा नहीं है या याद नहीं होता, so we'll do it in the end. और pharmacology के drugs वैसे भी भूल जाएंगे मैम, तो अभी पढ़ के फायदा नहीं. Stop delaying things. अब उसको छोड़ दो. Whatever you were delaying till now, that consider that God has given you time to actually cover up on those delayed things, right? So pick up the subjects out of these, pick up those days first, which are the weaker subjects. And padna kya hai? You have to go for the same thing. You first pick up your RR videos or notes. You go for the PYQs and the previous year topics. So pehle you have to finish off those, the high yielding topics for all these subjects. After that, if you have time, like you say that ma'am, I had kept 4 days for anatomy. 3 days mein I have finished off the RR videos. I have finished off the PYQs. Now I have an additional day on hand. What am I supposed to do? Then you pick up your additional notes. Then you can practice subject wise tests. Then you can pick up the additional tables and images that you have. But like I say, first things first. You have to do the most important thing first, and that is the RR and the PYQ. वो खत्म कर लो, उसके बाद then you are free to study whatever you want to, but not at the cost of the most important thing. So my advice is, and obviously all of us are hoping that all of you will be following this timetable starting tomorrow, and pick up the subjects whichever you feel you were missing out on, and that way is at least something which everyone keeps writing to us regarding medicine as a subject subject, ma'am, we are not getting time to give it medicine, surgery. We are not getting time 6 days at a stretch of finishing it off. I'm unable to sit for so many hours. So we've sorted that out also. We've divided it into daily slots. That has two advantages. One, subha roz 1.5 hour medicine you study means that every day you are in touch with the subject, means every day you are getting some clinical points to integrate with some of the other subject. And second major advantage hai that you will finish off the subject without even realizing that you did not sit with it for 6 or 7 days. You've been doing it all through these 35 days. Every day you are in constant touch with the subject, right? So yes, that is a tentative timetable. I hope it really helps you all. Try taking a screenshot and try starting with it. And this is a very famous technique which is known as time boxing. When we will be talking about, time management in a while, and time boxing and how it is important. So I guess we can anything that Sir Yusuf sir that you want to add, or Deepak sir you want to add to the timetable, any advice for the students out here?
Let
Yusuf.
Deepak sir, sir, please continue.
No, it's very simple. I think I always say that eat the frog. So try the harder things in the morning, and as you progress, you are gonna do great. And I think RR 4.0 is the one that should be focused on. I mean, if you are gonna do it at least 2 times, it's about 200 hours of data. If you have to do it 2 times, that will make it 400 hours. And obviously, you need to do it at a faster speed, maybe 1.5x, so that you can finish it in the days that you have. So abhi aapko lag raha hai the days are more, but it is not really the case. And I would not like you to whine and complain about that you are having extra number of days. I would like you to utilize this, do some mental crunching, and come out with flying colors. So I think it's being aggressive that really matters in these days, rather than having a laid back attitude. And I know that a lot of people have said a lot of things, but I think that you should be trusting those who have given consistent results over a large number of years. And well, I am here to guide you about that.
Sir, there are so many questions which are being asked, like they are still confused that which one to follow, like previous year questions or videos. I mean, what we think is that the previous year questions are most important. We can integrate them in this particular timetable, which is very well clear in front of all of us. And after having a discussion of previous year question, or having means completed the previous year questions, the cognition is important. Like videos are equally important, because when you sit in the examination hall, or when we tend to sit in the examination hall, then everything comes out in the form of, or anything could be framed or reflected while answering that particular question. So previous year question should be managed completely by having the videos, notes, as well as the lectures overall. This is what I think, because so many are asking that which one to follow in particular.
As I said, I mean, go for the time trusted source. I think if it is repeated, the same strategy is used again and again by your seniors, and it has worked, then it will work for you also. I mean, in my career, I can just say that whenever I've had a hardworking doctor who's put his heart and soul into the preparation, he has cleared the exam. I mean, आपको अगर खुद से आपको ना, अगर आपके मन में आप अपने दिल पे हाथ रख के बोलोगे कि सर मैं पूरी जान लगा रहा हूँ, ये लगा रही हूँ, है ना, I am sleeping lesser, I am putting max number of hours, and I'm studying with concentration. मतलब होता है ना, स्टडी मतलब आप पढ़ रहे हो पर ध्यान कहीं और है, वो नहीं होना चाहिए. तो इफेक्टिव स्टडी की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. सो आई थिंक इफ यू आर गोना पुट योर हार्ट एंड सोल इनटू इट, और आपको खुद को, अगर आप अपने आप को खुद को चीट नहीं कर रहे हो, तो आई थिंक यू आर ऑन द राइट ट्रैक. आई मीन, आपको एट द एंड ऑफ द डे ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि यार मैं काश और पढ़ लिया होता या पढ़ लेता. And same is for paper 2. When the exam would be over on 20th, I mean, when you come out of the examination hall, it should not be कि यार had I studied a little more, I would have cleared. That feeling, you know, that is the real killer. So I think if you have to avoid that feeling in the last few half an hour, 1 hour of paper 2 on 20th of January, then you need to put in, you need to slog extra at the moment. Vishnu, at the moment, I think RR and is a tall order. I mean, RR को 2 बार ही कर लो और PYQ कर लो, है ना. तो PYQ ही FMG solution में ही दिए हुए है ना. तो ऐसा तो है नहीं कि सेम चीज को 2 बार पढ़ के क्या करोगे. Like suppose you are saying that I'm gonna do a PYQ also and I'm gonna do FMG solution also. The same question is present in both the places. I mean, the faculty has discussed it. So you would be getting double stimulus, no, audio visual. If you're reading from a book, I mean, there was a time when people used to do only books only, but at the moment, I think the audio visual stimulus will help you do it relatively better. So, ma'am, you can take up the next slide.
Right, sir. So another question which the students have been putting up to us is how to approach the questions in the exam. So, sir, I guess I think you can address the students on that. How should the questions be approached, and what should be their exam in the exam hall strategy? What should they be following up?
Well, first and foremost, all I can say is, when it comes to evaluating a question, somehow you guys are brilliant people. You can always rule out two options, and between two close options, there will always be a self-doubt present. But with practice, that goes away. I mean, if somebody sits there or tells you in a class that I am gonna teach you this, and because of this, your eyes will go to the right answer, that guy is bluffing before you. And if you're trusting that person, I mean, you are doing harm to yourself. So I think that skill to exclude options comes with daily practice. And as I said, if you just put yourself a target of doing 100 every day, है ना, वो 100 मतलब ऐसे नहीं करना कि पूरे दिन में 100 कर रहे हो. Try to do 100 in 100 minutes. I'm talking about doing 100 MCQs in 100 minutes and then see कि कहाँ से focus, where you tend to lose focus. Because जब line से 5 question गलत हो जाते हैं, then you say छोड़ यार, मतलब यार आते नहीं है. Suppose you're doing questions, 10 were easy, then there were 5 difficult ones, and you tend to lose focus. So I think that it's all about getting those 5 wrong and still getting the 6th one correct. I mean, it comes with practice, obviously, but if you are going to be consistent, then you will become much more wiser on a regular basis. Yes, Yatin, you should be focusing on the RR component. क्वेश्चन सर FMG सॉल्यूशन में है, PYQ पे है, YouTube पे आप सर्च करोगे तो इतने सारे फ्री चैनल्स हैं जिस पे आपको प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन मिल जाएंगे. तो आप वो क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करते रहो और उसमें आप ये देखो ना कि व्हाट इज योर आंसर एज कंपेयर टू व्हाटएवर द फैकल्टी इज टेलिंग. आई मीन, you need to analyze, self-analyze, no, not only passively listen to the teacher, but you need to analyze. I mean, when you are doing a particular question, were your eyes going to the right answer? Were your eyes locking onto the right target or not? I mean, you need to just be calm. Obviously, you have to be calm, no doubt about it. But then at the same time, your mind has to be very aggressive and has to be ticking all the time. So mental aggression plays, I think, a very important role. And most people tend to zone out. I mean, first hour of the exam, everybody is like, yo, man, I'm going to do it. And in the second hour, the fatigue factor comes in and then the shoulders start drooping. And last आधे घंटे में लोग CCTV camera की शक्ल, मतलब CCTV camera देख रहे होते हैं. So I think that should not be happening. Snapshots are to be done. They are a part of RR only. Doc, you said weak topics. So I think first you have to focus on, because you are having few extra days, to weak topics को आप strong कर लो ना. I think that's a much more important strategy, because you anyway have to do a revision. You have to do 19 subjects in 20-25 days का cycle. But in that, I would say 20-25 days का cycle, you may not be getting time to do some subtopics like micro में, for example, parasitology. Getting all those names right is always a big tall order. Similarly, ECG part I find people are lacking, ABG part people are lacking. तो जो भी मतलब, if you are thinking that okay, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at ABG part, so listen to fluid and electrolytes वाला component, listen to the ABG2 videos, and I think you will get a insight into what is actually to be done. So it's not rocket science as it is being made out to be. It's very simple, straightforward, and you need to be consistent in your approach. Over to you, ma'am.
Right, and as sir said, it's just something that is coming with practice. So, there are certain things that we can advise to you that you can probably, while you're practicing, you should just always consider in the exam that, as they say, keep calm and use common sense. Because in the exam, we always go with that mindset that examiner ने अगर question बनाया है तो कुछ बहुत difficult होगा, कुछ बहुत rare होगा. Exam mode में क्या होता है? We always tend to think of those 1% rare disorders that the examiner is wanting to give you. No, at the end of the day, the examiner is trying to test your ability to probably deal with a patient, to treat a patient. So most of the questions are going to fall in line as a more of a common sense and on the easier or the mid difficulty aspect. There will be very few questions which will be which no one has ever heard of, or they are totally out of the box. There will be very, very few questions of that sort. So don't go with that kind of a mindset where you're going to only think of big tumors or some rare kind of fatal disorders. You have have to use your common sense. And like they say, a lot of students were writing that, we are always confused between the two options. I think that is something which every student in the exam hall goes through, right? So two options you can easily rule out, and then the final confusion is between the two that are remaining. So now you need to practice. When you know the confusion, you know the problem, so then might as well, just inculcate that into your practice as well. So start practicing in the same manner, that these are the two options that I'll be stuck in the exam also. So every day when you're practicing your 90 to 100 questions, and you have that time limit of 1 minute that you have to do your question within, तो उसमें वैसे ही practice करो कि जो दो आंसर्स हैं, अब इसमें से कौन सा रूल आउट करना है. Always remember that when you are stuck between two options, you don't have to select the right answer. You have to rule out the wrong answer. That is the rule over here. कि जो दो आंसर्स सामने हैं वो very close, they are very very close, they are looking very very similar. तो उसमें क्या करना है, गलत कौन सा है. Try to find out which is the wrong answer and eliminate that. One more approach that really helps you in the exam is retrospective. See, now all of you know that the approach nowadays is very very mid or lengthy questions are coming. All these 7-8 liner kind of questions are coming. So students have suddenly started running towards too many sources. Someone writes to me, ma'am, should we start doing USMLE books? Someone writes to me, ma'am, should we start doing some other kind of books? No, see, at the end of the day, you study for any exam, medicine, path, ortho, pediatrics, सब कुछ same रहने वाला है. The course is not going to change, the content is not going to change. Yes, there will be a minor switch in the questions, but at the same time, if you're good with what you have studied, if you studied your notes well, then any kind of question, now if the same question I put it up as a match the following, or I put it up as a lengthy question, or I put it up as a fact-based question. Like you have a question right in front of you. Starting में पढ़ा, it's looking like a medicine question of myocardial infarction, but the last sentence totally switches it over to a pathology question. So अब जब exam में ऐसा question आएगा, when I say retrospective, doesn't mean you waste half a minute in reading the question ulta. No, retrospective just means you read quickly what is the last sentence and what are the options. 2 सेकंड में उतना भी देखा होता कि okay, last sentence is heart necrosis. Even with that much I know the answer. Na, heart solid organ necrosis has to be coagulative. So then when you read the question for the next 40 seconds after that, you know exactly that okay, this is not testing me on probably some ECG or on some cardiac enzymes or anything. This is just testing me on the kind of necrosis that I'll see in the heart. So these are some ways which we can tell you by which your time can be sorted in a better way. Every question also, if you end up saving a few seconds in the end when that panic sets in, that can be avoided. तो अब ये all of a sudden एग्जाम डे पर एकदम से नहीं समझ में आएगा कि रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव कैसे जाना है या कॉमन सेंस कैसे यूज करना है. Suddenly on the day of the exam you're not going to get any superpowers, right? All this will come to you in the exam if you practice it from today. तो आज से ही when you practice questions, keep in mind that okay, I have to think of common things first, रूल आउट करना है ऑप्शंस को, एंड रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव अगर लेंदी क्वेश्चन आता है, 7-8 लाइन से ज्यादा का क्वेश्चन आता है, then definitely you have to go in a retrospective way and try to save on your time. Another thing that is very important, which I think Yusuf sir will also agree with me, because IBQs ka importance going forward is very very much there, right? Because there are like orthopedics maybe sir, there are too many images that are there. Pathology also as a subject which I teach, I mean most of the times I'm just showing them pink and blue slides and they all say कि मैम सब कुछ पिंक और सब कुछ ब्लू ही लग रहा है, मतलब there is no third color and everything looks the same. तो एग्जाम में भी सेम ही लगेगा ना. So then how are you going to solve that confusion? वो अभी से काम करना पड़ेगा. You'll have to work on that from this particular day. So from today onwards when you solve questions, you know that IBQs are going to be important. So what am I telling you to do? अगर 4 दिन anatomy पढ़ा या 1 दिन orthopedics पढ़ा, तो at the end of it you can at least take out half an hour extra and just flip through all the photos, only the images, only the pictures of that subject, so that you know. Or a lot of you are saying that ma'am, we tend to get fatigued after 2-3 days. We feel that I need 4-5 hours off, I can't practice more questions, and that's normal. मतलब mental exhaustion सबको होता है. At every phase and stage of your life you're going to have mental exhaustion, but the problem is that you have an exam coming up. So a mental exhaustion mein you can't say that I'm not going to study at all and I'm going to sit back and chill. What will you do in that situation? If you feel that for 2-3 hours you are unable to study and your mind is just totally off track, pick up the images of any subject. Say pick up the images of radiology, start reading through all the fractures, start reading through all the CTs and MRIs, and that ways images will help you. Like I was telling all of you earlier, 70 to 80 IBQs on an average, 70 at least are coming in every session, which means that, and image based questions ka ek advantage hai. If you identify the photo, the journey halfway, the battle is is 1, right? तो image identify हो गया तो आधा question तो वही solve होने वाला है. So if you know that it is that important, stop delaying it that images बाद में पढ़ेंगे or in the end I will do. Make it a routine that with every subject, the timetable that I've given to you, with every subject you have to revise the images side by side. And meanwhile, Dr. Kartika was also asking that, ma'am, is this only a notes wala timetable and do we have to do the PYQs on a separate day? No. See, when we say you have to finish anatomy in 4 days, that means that includes everything. It's a totally holistic kind of an approach that you have to carry. सिर्फ ये नहीं कि notes पढ़ेंगे 4 दिन, that will never ever get you through this exam. See, you can never do only one thing. Neither that person will crack the exam who's only reading notes, nor that person will crack the exam who's only and only doing question answer tick lagate jao. No, it's obviously going to be a mix of both. So in the beginning, it's obviously more of notes and less of MCQs. And abhi at this point of time, see, all of you were preparing for 4th of December. That means that ab tak revision काफी हो चुका था. So now you've come into that situation where MCQs can be a little more in the day and the notes can be a little lesser. But as I said, it has to be a combination. Sir, anything, Dr. Yusuf, that you want to add on the IBQ part? Because ortho is also equally heavy with images.
Ma'am, actually, image-based question, there are of two sorts. One is going to be a spot diagnostic question, and just on practice itself, that is going to be a qualitative question. Means if you mark that answer right, there is a possibility of either 100% correct or 25% wrong. So the possibility of marking the correct answer is very high if you practice it again and again. That is a spot diagnostic question. So that's what you said very correctly. If you practice the images again and again, it is going to be extremely helpful in marking the spot diagnostic question in particular. Second type of questions are assisted questions. Like there is a theory which has been mentioned, and you are asking about the answer for that question by assisting you with the image. Now, in that case, both these two things are helpful to each other. They will reciprocate in finalizing the answer for that particular question. So yes, image-based questions are exceedingly important. And if we have seen, like for the last 3 to 4 years, what we have witnessed, that the possibility or the probability of this clinical questions is increased, image-based question is increased. Like in orthopedics in particular, we are expecting at least 50 to 60% of the questions are based on image directly or indirectly. That means assisted or in the form of a spot diagnostic question. Over to you, ma'am. Hopefully, the students would be able to understand the importance of these image-based questions in particular.
Right. So I think that is something which is perfectly put up. Another question which we are getting is how to manage the time, both I understand during these 65 days and also going forward in the exam on the day of the exam. So for these days, I've got you a particular technique. Now the problem is that all of us say that 5 days of medicine I'm going to study, 7 days of surgery I'm going to study. You make very vague kind of timetables. They are either we have two set of students, या तो ऐसे students हैं जो मतलब within 1 day they want to study medicine and surgery and path. So either you will suddenly feel that you become like this Bahubali who's going to do everything all of a sudden in 1 day, in 24 hours you will finish like 3 subjects. So first is you don't have to make those unrealistic kind of timetables. Pehli problem. Second is that you can't keep a vague open-ended timetable ke 3 din anatomy padhenge. Now what happens in that phase is in 3 days of anatomy, the first day you guys are just probably watching Netflix. The second day you are thinking of how to study, and then within a blink you realize that okay, it's already the third day and अब anatomy तो शुरू भी नहीं हुआ. So those kind of timetables are totally off. So whatever I told you and the timetable that we made for you guys is definitely a timetable with time boxing. What do we mean by time boxing? Firstly, you have to box the delay in the time that you guys do, and secondly, time boxing means that you're going to divide your day. एक तो firstly every day you should keep in mind that कल it's not that कि आज सुबह उठ के सोचेंगे कि क्या पढ़ना है. That is not how it's gonna work. Every night before sleeping, you have to keep in mind and write it down somewhere that okay, these are the 7 chapters or 6 chapters of anatomy that I am going to do tomorrow. And it's not that सुबह उठ के कर लेंगे. You have to divide it. You have to, to put yourself through that grilling test that okay, at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I have to finish this much of upper limb. I have to do. 12 to 2 o'clock, I have to study 2 chapters of path. So you have to put your time into those time slots. That is what you call as time boxing. So next time when all of you make that timetable, I've tried that with the timetable that we've given you, that should have the time slot. So you can refer to that in case you make your own timetable, guys. If you're trying to coordinate that with your RR videos and everything, you make your own timetable. Then also don't make vague open-ended timetables. Try to divide it into equal number of hours, and also keep ticking off. Means at the midday you should have an idea of how much were you supposed to study and how much have you actually managed to complete. I'm not saying that you have to put unnecessary mental pressure on yourself कि इतना सोचा था and नहीं हुआ तो you get depressed and you give it up altogether. See, no one has ever been able to accomplish 100% of their timetable. Timetables are a big myth that you have in medical profession, and you make a timetable thinking you will cover everything, but even if you manage to achieve an 85% of that timetable, that is more than enough. So stop putting yourself under unrealistic goals and pressures, and that is how you're creating mental stress, right? And then after 2 days you'll feel you're very exhausted. So don't make yourself go through that. And yes, Deepak sir, anything that you want to put up for the time management for the students?
Yeah, I think in the chat there were questions with respect to that. Should PYQs be done from like FMG solution or should they be done from the app? I think both are same. So you can use anyone. If you are a book reader, if you love to read books, then it is FMG solution. If you don't like to read books and you want audio visual stimulus where a teacher is solving questions for you, if you are more of a person who is not very bookish kinds but likes data to be fed to you in a digital fashion, then I think the app would be a better idea. And both are giving the same thing. So there is no point of trying to do, let me say, medicine from both FMG solution and then listening to the PYQs. You don't have luxury of so much time. Then there was a query with respect to integrated sessions also, that they are suggested only if you have completed RR 4.0 at least 2 times. I think that's 200 hours of data. If you watch it at 1x and then second time at 1.5x, that will make it 300 hours. Now to finish 300 hours, I mean, how much can you do every day? Maximum 10 hours a day. So it will take you 30 days approximately to get through that RR twice. And if you still have time at your disposal after that and you have done the PYQs also, then you can go for the integrated sessions which are available in the app. Otherwise, I think straight away going for integrated sessions will not make any sense to you, because there we are going to be starting the race like a Formula 1 driver, and straight away cardiomyopathies, 5 major points would be told to you. So if you've not read about those cardiomyopathies, then it doesn't make sense to go through that. So my suggestion is that keep things simple, go through the time tested formula which has been used by your seniors and they have been able to clear. And I think with the time boxing model up and a schedule that we have drawn for you, a combination of these would be more than sufficient for you to ace this exam. So you don't need to have any second doubts about it. It's a time tested strategy. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. So I guess any other questions that anyone has, we can definitely.
Yeah, grand test, I think not more than 1 a week is possible. Ma'am, if you try to do just giving grand test would not make any sense. You need to analyze, know what went wrong. I mean, suppose a day, if I say do grand test without doing RR, then if you have not read the subject and you're going to give let me say a mock test and you got, suppose, God forbid on that day 140, then if you spend the whole day ruminating over it and saying that, oh, I got 140, that's a day wasted. And suppose on that particular day in a particular app you got 160, 170, then you will say कि select city walk में जाके party करेंगे, अब तो मतलब 170 हो गए, तो पढ़ने की क्या जरूरत है? तो I think a balanced approach is what is required. So you can improve Dr. Idiopathic fun. You can improve if you're getting 150. Just look at it. Glass is half full, half empty. So just need to put a little more pressure on your mind and upgrade to 180, and it's definitely possible.
Right, and as sir said that grand test is something like most of the students feel that सिर्फ grand test देते जाएंगे, but then grand test is just not about giving the grand test, right? You also have to analyze the grand test. You have to know how many you got correct, what all did you get incorrect. Now, obviously, in the exam, your focus in is on what all, how many you got correct, but grand test में होता है how many did you get incorrect, and why did you get them incorrect, and कहाँ से incorrect हो रहा है? Are you doing silly mistakes? Are you getting a particular subject wrong? Is it only microbio from which you're getting questions wrong? Is it only pathology from which you're getting questions wrong? So, if you just start giving two grand tests in every week, then you're just giving it for the heck of giving it. Then you're not even looking at the wrong answers. You're not even looking at the explanations. You're not looking at anything, why and where you went wrong. So, not just giving a grand test is important, analyzing it and using it for your betterment is important, right? कि grand test देने के बाद कुछ समझ में आया कि this is why I was not crossing the 150 till now, or this is why my score was stagnant, because ये 2-3 subjects हैं जो बार बार गलती हो रही है, और I am always doing the same kind of silly mistakes. वो true का false पढ़ा, correct incorrect करा, all of the following are true except. When you're dealing with those kind of silly mistakes, then this means again and again you are losing out on your marks because of them. तो बस practice की और जरूरत है. अगर recall में problem आ रहा है, recall is the concern here, this means it's time for you to revise the notes. So there is no rocket science honestly that is involved. No one is going to give you any out of the box strategy. You have to go very old school when it comes over here. बहुत old school technique use करनी है. That is just pick up your grand test, see where you've gone wrong. जो wrong है उसका solution निकालो. नोट्स में प्रॉब्लम है, नोट्स रिवाइज करो. सिली मिस्टेक्स हो रही हैं तो क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो. टाइम मैनेजमेंट में प्रॉब्लम है तो स्टार्टिंग से टाइम अपना वैसे मैनेज करो. मैनेज योर टाइम फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग. डोंट स्टार्ट पैनिकिंग व्हेन सडनली 1.5 hour इज अप. स्टार्ट गो इनटू दैट मोड. आई एग्री 15 मिनट स्टार्टिंग में एग्जाम में लगता है टू सेटल इनटू द एग्जाम, टू गेट फेमिलियर विद द कंप्यूटर, द माउस एंड एवरीथिंग. बट वंस यू आर सेटल्ड, उसके बाद वहीं से स्टार्ट एनालाइजिंग कि हर क्वेश्चन में कितना टाइम लग रहा है. डोंट वेट दैट सडनली व्हेन 1.5 hour will be over, then I'll look at the time clock and realize that I'm left with so many questions. So that is just an advice for the GTs that you have. Dr. Yusuf sir, anything that you want to address to the students, because I think at this point of time maximum what they need are words of motivation from us.
Ma'am, motivation comes from within. Actually, one has to realize that they have read enough and just you have to practice it again and again. They should be confident. Some of them are very much worried about the percentage of the possibilities that how many are getting through the examination. Some are concerned about 10%, 20% or 30%. Consider yourself that the approach you have to follow has to be linear in order to get through that examination. एक ही बात है, means there is only one thing in order to gain success in these kind of examinations in particular, and that is persistence and a better plan, particularly early in the morning. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. So I think at least one thing that the students are taking back from this session is that now instead of blaming someone or the other as to हमारे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ, why are we the batch जिसका पहले preponement हुआ फिर postponement हुआ. I mean, you can go on with that discussion for even the next 60 days, but that is not going to help you clear the exam. What is going to help you clear the exam is going to be that you sit down and you study. You make a timetable for yourself, or you follow this particular timetable, but you sit down and you get down to the real deal, which is studying. And no amount of discussion over this topic is ever going to end, and it's not going to get any fruitful outcome also over it. So definitely that is something which we want to tell the students. And also another thing, many of the students were asking regarding, Dr. Farman has asked regarding how many NEET PG PYQs should you be following. Personally, I feel 3 years are enough. The previous 3 years are good enough considering, and then after that, obviously, if time permits, you can go back to as many as you want to. But 3-year PYQs at least to begin with is something that you should be going ahead with. And also one more thing, that you just have to be very consistent. I mean, everyone's heard of that tortoise and the rabbit story. You don't have to sprint one day कि आज बहुत ज़्यादा 12 घंटे पढ़े and then कल कुछ नहीं पढ़ा. So that is something that you don't have to do. Next 60 days you have to be very, very consistent. Every day fix the number of hours that you can study for, and every day study for the same number of hours. Try to improve. Don't try to depreciate from there. Try to keep on increasing. If you're doing, like, say, you might be feeling all of a sudden that everyone's telling me to do 100 MCQs per day and I was currently only doing 60. So matlab obviously I'm doing less, but how do I? It's not that overnight that आज 60 MCQs कर रहे थे, कल सुबह उठ के एकदम से 100 हो जाएंगे. If you're not reaching that mark, then go gradually ना. 5, 5, 7, 7 MCQs हर day बढ़ाना शुरू करो. आज से if you start increasing 5 or 10 MCQs per day, you will in another week you will reach that 100 MCQ mark. So everyone's not at the same stage of their preparation, but जहाँ भी हो वहाँ से go forward. That is the thing. With the postponement, don't keep coming down and keep stop studying जितना पढ़ रहे थे अब वो भी नहीं पढ़ रहे हो. Don't go for that. Start studying and start putting in more effort for that case. Sir, anything that you wish to take up?
My message is only two words: keep hammering. And if they are able to do that, then I think you would be on the track to glory.
Right. I think students are very fond of that phrase also. So coming from you, it means a lot to them. And also, like Yusuf sir also told us that, motivation is something that you can see a million motivational videos. But I always say that the half-life of those motivation videos is very, very short-lived. Like tonight, you'll be very motivated after this particular lecture, but tomorrow morning, you will be back to doing the same thing that you wanted to do. Till the time you don't get that motivation from within you, till the time you don't remember as to why you started off on this journey, already काफी struggle कर लिया है. All these years of MBBS, you guys have gone through a lot, right? Now going forward, this is the last run, last leap. मतलब इसमें if you give up, this is going to be a total blunder, right? And you don't want all these years of hard work to go wasted just because abhi last 2 months में you are not able to keep up with it. So going forward, as I say, you don't have to search for motivation from anyone. Your motivation has to come from within you, and that has to be goal oriented. If you know your target, why are you doing this? Obviously you're doing this to get get through this licensing exam. Someone's doing it for personal reasons, professional reasons, financial reasons. सबका अलग अलग एक रीजन है. तो अगर रीजन पता है, then I don't think you need to take any motivation from anyone. अपना रीजन अगर पता है, तो then every day morning you will wake up on your own. You don't need any alarm clocks. You're not gonna snooze that button again and again. You're going to wake up in one go because somewhere you know why you are on this journey. So just ask yourself for that why, remember that why, and keep going forward over here. So yes, like we said, you don't have to be the don't have to be the rabbit out here. You have to be the turtle. Slow and steady wins the race. तो every day जितने hours सोचा है वो रोज उतना ही पढ़ना है. Don't let the mental exhaustion come in, guys. That is something most important.
Absolutely. Your competition is you yourself only. I mean, you need to improve and fight with yourself. How many hours did I crunch yesterday? If I did 10, I'll try 10 and a half. If I slept 8 hours yesterday, I'll try to do 7 and a half. And I'll try to reduce my sleep. Obviously, I'm not saying go sleepless, but then try to max out on the number of productive study hours and try to minimize the sleep time. And you need to minimize on the social media component as well.
Yes, sir. Be persistent. That is the key. Be persistent, and there has to be a self-motivation, as ma'am has rightly said. Persistent, I suppose, is the key for any examination in particular.
सर आपको 2 बार ही करने हैं. आपने बोला कि यू आर नॉट एबल टू सॉल्व द क्वेश्चंस आफ्टर डूइंग द वीडियोस. तो मैं यही बोलूंगा कि लाइक अब वी नीड टू गेट आउट ऑफ दैट बायोलॉजी मोड. नो दैट वो नीट यूजी में क्या होता है कि बायोलॉजी के जो क्वेश्चंस होते हैं वो वही होते हैं जो नोट्स में से आते हैं. बट अब मेडिकल साइंस यार, अब डॉक्टर बन गए ना, पेशेंट थोड़ी ना माथे पे लिख के थोड़ी ना आएगा कि भी मेरा डायग्नोसिस ये है. तो आपको डिफरेंशियल डायग्नोसिस कंसिडर करना होगा ना, है ना. वैसी स्लाइड होगी अगर पैथोलॉजी की तो उसमें अलग अलग पॉसिबिलिटीज हो सकती हैं. तो थोड़ा एनालिटिकल स्किल्स है. बट आई थिंक अगर आप इफ यू पुट योर हार्ट एंड soul into it, so there is nothing that will be stopping you. I mean, you are a brilliant chap and you have done all the hard work of getting through the grind of medical school. So I think this is going to be a piece of cake for you. I mean, just keep the faith in your capabilities and the faith in the capabilities of your mentors, and you are going to do just great.
Actually, sir, the questions are getting easier nowadays, I suppose, because they are more clinically oriented. The language of the question is relatively simple, and there is no something which you can very easily mug it up and just vomit it out in the examination hall. There is a clear-cut approach which is being processed by the examiners nowadays. Is it not, sir? Because
absolutely.
Because the questions are getting much easier in comparison to what we have witnessed like 5 to 6 years back.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, sir. I mean, some questions would be easy, some would be difficult. I mean, it's a combination. Like some questions will have some keywords present, some would not have keywords present. So yeah, I mean, as I said, it's mental fatigue that comes in the second hour of the exam. And the first hour, everybody is like gunning for it. But yeah, a word of caution for a couple of people who are saying anatomy, biochemistry is weak, sir. Anatomy is the first half an hour of the exam, anatomy. And you need to be strong in that. I mean, you just can't say, I mean, whether you like anatomy or whether you dislike anatomy, it really does not matter. You just need to get the questions right. So nobody's asking you to fall in love with the subject. It is just be jack of all trades and you'll be able to clear it. RR is not sufficient. Okay. Doctor, if you go through the 200 hours of data, people are able to clear INI-CET with it. So I think for FMG exam, it would be more than sufficient. 13-14 वाला approach नहीं करना है, Ravi. You need to do all the 19 subjects. This discussion is not for next. We are trying to focus and ensure that people are able to, get their thought process correct and are able to then attempt the 20th January wala paper. So we'll keep a separate session for that. Keyword comes with practice, doctor. Doc, you can clear. I mean, you need to keep faith and yeah, I know a lot of guys who are like getting 149, who getting 148, and it's really heartbreaking to, you know, talk to those guys. I mean, I have I mean, very brilliant people who break into tears in front of me saying, sir, I got 148, 149, because it's a real ego crusher as well. Because it's even hard on the family, not only on you, but even hard on the family and economically also, because you need to sit again 6 months and then prepare. But if you could get 149, you can easily get up to 180, 190 also. It's just that focus in last few minutes of the exam that really, really matters. People tend to lose focus in last half an hour, or as I said, I mean, the 1.5 hour period or 2 hour period is when you need to be aggressive. So take Virat Kohli's example, take Messi's example, Ronaldo's example, the aggression that they show first minute of the match, last minute of the match. I mean, it's uniform. So that consistency has to be there. Yeah, you can study from 3.0, doesn't matter if you're not using 4.0. No, sir, there are questions are integrated in a sense that they are just testing your common knowledge only. So it's nothing, I mean, they are just being made difficult. And in the paper, there will be 20 questions, which will always be bouncers. You need to leave them. And the remaining ones are the ones that you can handle relatively easily. So theory you have to complete. FMG solutions, yep. You can either do PYQs or you can go for solutions. I mean, whatever you find comfortable. If you're a book reader, I mean, I've already said that. Ma'am, you can take a couple of questions here. Mock test, we've told Renuka, that would be like one mock test a week is more than sufficient. How much correct? You need to get 200 correct in the mock test. We can't ease up things for you and saying कि 150 आ गया बहुत है. But आपको अगर मैं easy कर दूंगा तो फिर party करोगे आप. So we are saying target for 200. सर आपने 2 रिवीजन करे हैं तो 3 कर लीजिए. मैम आप
नहीं sir, please continue. There was just one question regarding concentrating more on which, obviously weaker subjects is something that you'll concentrate more on. That is like undoubtedly, and now that you've got extra time, तो ज़्यादा तो weak subjects पे concentrate करो, pharma, biochem, micro, whatever is your weaker subject, volatile subjects, and उसके बाद revise करो जो subjects पहले से आते थे, that is what you're going to revise. So yes, that is going to solve that for you. And how to improve your skills in all grand tests. So that we said, Dr. Abhishek, how to improve skills for grand test is by analyzing पिछला जो grand test है, whichever grand test you give, पिछला वाला grand test उठाओ, उसमें देखो what were the questions that were wrong, तो वो क्यों गलत थे, वो कोई silly mistake से गलत थे या subject में problem है, तो कौन-कौन से subjects में गलत answers आ रहे हैं, that is what you need to pick up. So whatever 4-5 subjects you have in which you're getting wrong answers, just keep revising those subjects. Now it's time that उनके notes उठाओ, दोबारा revise करो, वो करने के बाद give another grand test, then see you will definitely shoot up in your score. So simple as that. Again, like we say कि कोई out of the box kind of strategy नहीं है, that is what exactly you have to do. Dr. Sam and others, that will obviously be updated to you guys by the team in a while. It is in the process and it will be done. And yes, sir, anything that you wish to take up?
Sir, there is a question about the one-liners. Like they are asking what about one-liners? One-liners remains the same over a period of time. But the possibility of getting a one-liner is declining for the relatively. We are getting an integrated sort of a question more commonly.
Dr. Swati, we have already given, if you go back in the video, we have already given a timetable which you can go through. That would help you, that would solve your query. And that's micro planning for the day. Paper 1, you need to get 100 marks. Paper 2, kaisa bhi aayega, you still be able to sail through. It's just that you can't take a break, sir. Divya, you can't take a break for a few days. You have to be consistent. We cannot be going easy on that. I mean, if you start taking it easy, then things can go wrong. I think consistency is the main focus that we have tried to say. It is subject-wise study, Vishnu. There is no systematic, and you will do cardiovascular from all the things. That is for third year, fourth year students. This is not for the final exam. You need to get the monkey off the back, which is that you need to finish one subject, go to the second one, third one, fourth one, like that. Complete cycle is to be completed. I mean, there is no point of trying to do system-wise. तो फिर एक ही system strong हो जाता है, बाकी system आते नहीं है. So we can take just few more questions for the last one for today. Yes, some questions get correct with guesswork also. Ma'am, you can handle a couple of them.
Another question regarding our clinical vignettes more important than image-based. See, most of the times image-based questions, like Dr. Yusuf sir was also telling us, image-based kai bar spotter aayega, and in some of the times it's gonna come mixed with the clinical vignette. So you can never say that one is important over the other. Everything has its own set of proportion in the exam, and everything is going to get you their own set of questions. So following both, I mean, you can't say that I'll only practice clinical questions and I will not look at images at all. Most of the times they'll come up mixed, right? If you get a question of a Reed-Sternberg cell, you'll get it with the history of a Hodgkin's lymphoma. So somewhere both the things go hand in hand. You cannot put it up one over the other.
Yes, you have to do the same thing multiple times so that you are able to get the facts right. I mean, obviously you need to go through the main videos first, but then rapid revision would help you understand things relatively better, especially the shortcomings, especially those high yield topics are focused there. Okay, ma'am, you can handle the last question for today.
Another question regarding how to handle microbiology, that is definitely going to be for any other volatile subject. And there is, again, I wish I could give you some very magical mantra for it, but I really can't. For any volatile subject, there is only one way to go ahead with it, and that is repeated revisions. You'll have to revise, revise, and revise. There is nothing about that long list of catalase, oxidase, urease positive organisms. You have to just repeatedly revise them. And that is something you can also split and revise. For any volatile subject, if you feel sitting for 3 days at a stretch and studying it is making you exhausted and making you forget a lot of things, then simply divide it. You can do probably 1.5 days, give a break with another subject, then come back to it after another 2-3 days, and then you can question. And apart from that, ye sab karne ke baad, if you still feel that micro is not something that you're able to cope up with, start giving more tests. Because when you read those mnemonics and when you read those lists, they look very easy, but when you start getting down to applying them in questions, that is when you realize that, okay, I was not able to recall it. So simple, just repeated revisions and applying them, and constantly testing yourself that whether you were able to recall all of that cramming up information or not.
So with these words, we really thank you for taking out your time and coming into this chat, and we were glad and we hope that we were able to assist you. If you have any further queries, you can directly ping me, and you can mail any one of us or contact us, and we'll be glad to assist you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.